A Firehouse Christmas is a pretty good film, but I will admit it does have a few moments that were maybe a little bit ridiculous. This is a 2016 film directed by George Erschbamer, written by Brian Skiba, and it stars Anne Hutchison as Jenny and Marcus Rosner as Tom. We also have Anita Brown as the brilliantly written antagonist Mary, and I will say I hate her, but I love to hate her because she's a very horrible, self centered person. But we actually get little glimpses of why that's the case, and this is the form of her father, James, played by Bruce Dawson. Every now and then we see that her father is really the most evil person and he has control of her, and that's why she's turned out to be the horrible person that she is. She is a former Olympic athlete who was married to another athlete, and she's recently written a book about marriage, even though she's divorced. And her publicist or publisher tells her, we will sell more copies if people actually think you're in a relationship, because why would they take marriage advice from somebody who's divorced? So she tries to convince her ex-husband Tom to pretend that they're sorting things out and getting things back together. But of course Tom doesn't want to do this. Tom is in a relationship with Jenny. Jenny is our firefighter, which is where the title comes from. And Tom and Mary have a little girl. This is Sadie, played by Jaeda Lily Miller. And the worst thing about this is seeing how little Mary seems to care about her daughter's happiness, because she's happy to just take her daughter back from the daughter's father and demand that she spends time with her, and basically ruins her daughter's Christmas, and it's really horrible to see. But then we do see that the Mary's father, Sadie's grandfather, is very much in control of everything, and he's a very nasty, nasty character. There's a lot going on in this film. There are a lot of different layers, and I think it's generally an enjoyable narrative. I think it worked quite well. The characters are very well written, but there are a couple of things, such as something involving a chimney, that are maybe a little bit unnecessary. And they ruined an otherwise very moving narrative about a child caught in between two parents and a mother who is willing to do anything to sell her books, but who is ultimately controlled by her own father. And I find that it's actually a really interesting one to analyse from that perspective, and I think the characters are all really fascinating and their behaviours are really interesting to study, and there's a nice amount of Christmas in it. I should also say I'm not excusing Mary's behaviour, but usually with films like this, when we have our antagonist, we don't really find out why they are so nasty. But with this one, it's very clear. And I like that. I like that they were kind of saying, okay, she's a horrible person, but this is where it comes from. And if you have a parent who treats you like this, don't let this affect you and your behaviour and how you treat your own children. So I actually think it was really well done. But there are, of course, as I've said, a few things that are maybe a little bit ridiculous. It's not the best well received. There are a lot of very negative reviews on IMDb, but I don't agree with most of them. Generally, I think it's a pretty good film, one that made me feel a lot of emotions, mostly anger at several characters, but I was very much emotionally invested in this film and I wanted, the right things to happen to the right people. Whether or not that's the case, I won't say, but it is a good film. If you've been considering watching it, I'd say it's worth checking out. In the UK, it's currently on, I think, ITV under the title Christmas Hero. There is, however, another film called Christmas Hero, so I definitely prefer the title of Firehouse Christmas, just to separate it. But either way, whatever you want to call it, I'd say it's a pretty good film. Not a perfect film, but still worth checking out.